Next chapter, 18. Contemplating the oneness of everything. Subhuti, what do you think? Okay, so now we're going to go into the eyes. This is a very important chapter. Subhuti, what do you think? Does Tathagata have the flesh eye? So, flesh eye to the body, the physical eye. So the Buddha now is going to talk about the different, the five visions, 5 eyes. Depends on how it's translated. Sometimes it's the 5 visions, sometimes it's the 5 eyes. It depends on the translation. It doesn't really matter. So here it's called the 5 eyes. The Buddha is now use the example of the 5 eyes. This is very important to understand. So, Subhuti, what do you think? Does Tathagata have the flesh eye? So the flesh eye is the physical eye. Okay, it's a very limited function. So, if you put a piece of paper or a hand, your eye cannot see through your hand. Your hand blocks your physical eye. A wall will block your physical eye. So the physical eye is very limited function. So Subhuti answers, so it is Tathagata, so it is world-honored one, the Tathagata has the flesh eye. So what is the Buddha, where is the Buddha going with this? What's the point of this chapter? So the Buddha now is once again making sure that Subhuti is not clinging to non-perception. Because perhaps the Buddha is seeing that maybe Subhuti still has some kind of clinging to the idea of non-perception or absence of perception as being, awakening or cessation or enlightenment. So for that purpose, now the Buddha is going to talk about the 5 eyes to correct further, to show the oneness condition, the non-duality, the true point of non-duality. So he's going to use the 5 eyes as an example. Why? But the point here is to see that the realization of emptiness, as I said in the beginning, the realization of emptiness is not the goal. The realization of emptiness is not the end goal. It's not. If you think the realization of emptiness is the end goal, this is not Mayan view. This is Anhat view. The realization of emptiness is the means to real prajna, is the means to truly understand the ultimate condition of reality, which is beyond emptiness. And by realizing emptiness, that realization of emptiness itself becomes the skillful means by which Buddhas and Bodhisattvas liberate sentient beings. That's the point. You see, the realization of emptiness manifests spontaneously the skillful means that liberate sentient beings. This union that the Buddha keeps coming back to in these chapters. Subhuti, what do you think? Does the Tathagata have the heavenly eye? This is also sometimes commonly known as the divine eye. So this is the second eye. Okay, so a Buddha has 5 eyes. Okay, 5 eyes. It has these 2. It has 2 on the head. It has 1 on the tip of the nose. I'm just joking. The Buddha has 5 eyes. Is kind of metaphorical. 5 visions, 5 capacities to see. 5 capacities to see. So the second eye is called the divine eye. So Subhuti, what do you think? Does the Tathagata has the divine eye? So what is the divine eye? The divine eye is a kind of vision, kind of capacity that you can attain through meditation, through meditators that really meditate. Really meditate. I don't mean half an hour a day. I mean people that really meditate, really practice, do retreat, get teachings, instructions, peace instructions, and really do training and meditate. then they attain this. It's called the divine eye. So the divine eye, unlike the physical eye, so the physical eye, like I said, you cannot see through walls. You cannot see through your hand. The divine eye doesn't have this kind of obstruction. So the divine eye can see through physical form. It can see through physical realms. It can see through physical different dimensions. It can perceive different realms and so forth. It can see very near. It can see very near. It can see very far. It doesn't need binoculars. It can see everywhere. Like this. This is called the divine eye. So this is attained in the path. This is not even very high. This is kind of good meditators. At some point develop this kind of capacity. So it's called the divine eye. So Subhuti answers. So it is, world honored one. The Tathagata has the divine eye. And then he continues. Subhuti, what do you think? Does Tathagata have the wisdom eye, the prajna eye? That's the third eye, the prajna eye. So the prajna eye has the capacity to perceive what the divine eye can't. So the prajna eye can perceive formless. It can perceive formless condition. It can perceive formless realms. It can perceive formless space. It can perceive selfless nature. It can perceive suchness, basically, doesness. This is the prajna eye. The prajna eye perceives doesness. But the prajna eye has a limitation. What is the limitation of the prajna eye? The prajna eye cannot distinguish. It does not distinguish. It cannot make differentiations. So the prajna eye sees doesness, pure suchness. It can also perceive formless, the formless condition, formless space, formless realms, and so forth. And so it's called the prajna eye. But what's the point here that I wanted to say? But because this prajna eye can only perceive suchness, it can only perceive the formless, selfless nature, it cannot discriminate, it cannot distinguish. So because it cannot distinguish, it serves no function to liberate beings. Because it does not perceive beings. It does not perceive beings. Because to perceive beings, you need to perceive differentiation, distinction. Prajna eye only perceives formless space. Anyway, so that's the prajna eye, the third eye. Subhuti replies, so it is, world-honored one. The Tathagata has the wisdom eye, the prajna eye. And then the Buddha continues, Subhuti, what do you think? Does Tathagata have the Dharma eye? So now, what's the Dharma eye? So the Dharma eye, not only it can see doesness, suchness, the formless condition, but the Dharma eye can also differentiate. And more than that, the Dharma eye can automatically or spontaneously, naturally see how to liberate beings. So we can say in a way that the prajna eye is, so if for you that are kind of, that know a bit more about these things, I can say that the prajna eye corresponds to what normally is called the wisdom of suchness. So it can see the suchness of phenomena. And the Dharma eye would correspond to the wisdom of manliness, which includes discriminating wisdom, all-accomplishing wisdom, the capacity to really differentiate and apply spontaneously whatever skillful means are necessary to liberate beings. So this is the Dharma eye. So you have to understand that this is not something deliberate. The Dharma eye just sees. The prajna eye sees suchness, the ultimate nature. The Dharma eye sees distinction. But automatically it knows that this distinction is not separate from suchness. The distinction and the suchness are the same. And also automatically knows how to liberate. Automatically, there's no thinking, there's no planning. What shall I do to liberate? No, there's nothing of that. It just directly sees, automatic. This is the Dharma eye. Subhuti answers, so it is, world honored one, the Tathagata as the Dharma eye. And now we go to the final one. So, Subhuti, what do you think? Does Tathagata have the Buddha eye? So now this is the big difference, because only the Buddha has this now, the Buddha eye. The Buddha eye, this kind of vision, is aware and knows all the other four. All the other four visions are present. So the flesh, the physical eye, the divine eye, the prajna eye, the dharma eye, all those are there. All those are there. But at that point, you see, the dharma eye, it's still obstructed. It's not unobstructed. The dharma eye is not omniscient. It's not omniscient. There is still obscuration. The Buddha eye has no obscuration, no obstruction at all. All the four eyes are present simultaneously without obstruction. So the Buddha eye, in the vision of the Buddha eye, the three times are inseparable. Past, present, future are inseparable, united. There is no moving. So the Buddha eye can see throughout the three times without obstruction, throughout all dimension without obstruction. Complete omniscience, basically. So Subhuti answers, so it is that, O world honored one, the Tathagata has the Buddha eye. Subhuti, what do you think? As the Tathagata said that all the sand of the Ganges river is sand, so it is, world honored one, the Tathagata has said that all the sand is sand. Now the Buddha says sand is sand. Before he says sand is not sand, now he says sand is sand. It's very confusing, isn't it? So what is the Buddha trying to do now? So now the Buddha is talking about the Dharma eye. So the Buddha is trying to give an example to say that if I just had the prajna eye, if I just achieved the prajna eye, the eye that sees suchness, selfless nature, then the grains of sand are not grains of sand. But because if I attain the Dharma eye, then grains of sand are grains of sand. Again, the Buddha is using this example to show that without the Dharma eye, I cannot benefit sentient beings. Because I don't perceive sentient beings. I can't communicate with sentient beings. Because I don't see sand. I don't see sentient beings. That's the point the Buddha is making. Subhuti, what do you think? If there were as many Ganges rivers as there are grains of sand in one Ganges river, and there were as many Buddha lands as there were grains of sand in all those Ganges rivers, would that be many Buddha lands? Very many, world honored one. Many Buddha lands. The Buddha told Subhuti, the Tathagata thoroughly knows all the various thoughts that occur to every living being in each of all those Buddha lands. So this is a very important point the Buddha is making here. See, with the physical eye, the Buddha can, the Buddha is there, sitting in Jeta Grove, in his mat, with his monks around. Subhuti sitting or kneeling in front of him. With his flesh eye, the Buddha can see all that. He can see Subhuti, can see all the monks, the trees, and so forth. With his divine eye, he can perceive all the world systems. He can perceive all the thoughts and minds of all the beings in all the world systems. With his prajna eye, he can perceive that all that has no self-nature, is empty. With his dharma eye, he perceives how those thoughts, how that empty appearance itself becomes the means for liberation. You get this? With this prajna, with this divine eye, you can see all the world systems, all the beings, their minds, their thoughts. With this prajna eye, you can see that it all lacks self-nature. All lacks self-nature. It's all empty of true existence. With this dharma eye, he perceives how that same illusion, how the illusion itself can become the means for liberation. This is the wisdom of the middle way. This is the true path of the Mahayana. Without falling into any extremes. That's why the Buddha used the examples of the 5 eyes here. It was very skillful. Very skillful. And now, to finish for today, the last paragraph. So, why? The Tathagata says that all thoughts are not thoughts. Therefore, they are called thoughts. For what reason? Subhuti. You cannot recover past thoughts. You cannot hold on to present thoughts. And you cannot obtain future thoughts. This is peace instruction. Direct from the Buddha. Peace instruction, how to meditate. How to meditate. How to meditate in the path of the Bodhisattva. You cannot recover past. Thoughts are not thoughts. Why? You cannot recover past thoughts. You cannot hold on to present thoughts. You cannot obtain future thoughts. When you understand and apply this, you stay in clear, open, present doesness. And this is how to meditate. In the prajnaparamita. This is instruction directly from the Buddha. Very simple. How to meditate. You can read this paragraph. You can read this paragraph again and again. Really, really bring it into your heart. And to really sit. Just this. No goal, no objective, no purpose, no enlightenment, nowhere to go. Where do you want to go? Great perfection. It's just here. Subject, object, illusion. Perceiver, perceived, illusion. I have to meditate, illusion. I understand, illusion. I am reciting the sutra, illusion. All these sutras are very important, illusion. The Buddha is illusion. Drop all that. Just here. Vast, open clarity. As the Buddha said, you cannot recover past thoughts. I mean, they pass. You can't hold. You can't hold. There's nothing to hold. Thoughts are non-thoughts, the Buddha says. You can't hold to them. You can't recover past thoughts. Where are they? Another way to look at this is, where have they gone? When the Buddha says, you cannot recover past thoughts, means that, if you throw something away, I pick up, I pick up this mala and I throw it away. I throw it away. But then I can go there and I can go get it. I can recover it. But you cannot recover past thoughts. Where have they gone? Where have they gone? Huh? You cannot hold to present thoughts. Can you hold to a present thought? You can try very hard. It won't work very well. There's nothing to hold. There's nothing to hold. There's nothing there you can hold. You cannot obtain future thoughts. Where are they? Where are the future thoughts that you can go get them? They're not anywhere to be found. So if thoughts go nowhere, if you can't hold to present thoughts, if you can't fetch future thoughts, you better just be quiet. Just be quiet, just stay still. Present. Lucid, open, aware, clear, silent. Vast, open. Not holding to anything, not grasping to anything. All thought, all ideas, this, that, throw it all away. Just stay here. In all this completeness, this perfection, that suchness will manifest, will be realized. The perfection of wisdom, the middle path, beyond extremes, beyond grasping to existence, grasping to emptiness, beyond all extremes. So the Buddha here gives a very direct kind of instruction on meditation. So it's already past the time a little bit, okay, but we finished with this chapter today. So thank you very much. Do you have any questions before I close? So if there are no more questions, thank you very much for this. Is very, very, very special, I think, to be able to share with you and to be able to be together, I think, together to read and to look at the meaning of this profound teaching. And because this is truly the heart of the Buddha. I mean, as I said since the beginning, this is not the heart of, this is the Buddha, actually. This is the Buddha. This is the Buddha. So if as Buddhist practitioners, if we don't really uphold, as the Buddha himself says in this sutra, if we don't uphold these teachings, if we don't uphold, study, get teachings, practice them, understand them, if we lose this, then the Dharma is gone. Because this is it, you know. Dharma is not this, you know. Dharma is not this. This is not Dharma, you know. There's a bunch of other stuff, but all that has a purpose somehow. And it can also not be excluded. But the real point is this. And if we understand this, if we realize this, if we experience this, if we fully integrate this, if we fully manifest this, then that's it. Everything else comes from there. Everything else manifests from that. And if this is lost from the world, then authentic Buddha Dharma is lost. Then we become with some kind of, you know, artificial kind of, you know, looks like Dharma kind of thing, which is not really authentic anymore. Very full of extreme views. There's many extreme views, you know, extreme views that attach too much to samsara. We see this a lot. Samsara, and the sufferings of samsara, and poor sentient beings, and compassion for sentient beings because they suffer. Yes, of course, we have to have compassion for sentient beings because they suffer. This is true. But if this is not tempered, if this is not balanced with wisdom, this is not Buddha Dharma anymore. This becomes something else, something quite morbid, actually. Because there is no samsara. As the Buddha explains in this sutra, if we truly want to have compassion, if we truly want to have compassion for sentient beings, if we truly want to liberate sentient beings, we must first understand that there are no sentient beings. The moment you understand there are no sentient beings, you can liberate them. This probably, if you only understand this intellectually, it sounds like a paradox. But when you realize the Buddha mind, when you realize the nature of your mind, then you see it's not a paradox at all. It's actually quite obvious. Quite obvious. It is like the absence. I know it's getting a bit late and I'm sorry, but I'm just going to finish with one story just to really make the point here, because or else I'm going to miss the point, and this is important to make now. Why is this? Why is the realization that there's no self that which liberates? And why is it that this is not a paradox? I probably already told this story, but I'm going to tell it again because probably not everyone heard it. There's this Indian story. Called the story of the princess of Kashi. There was this kingdom, And every year they had this celebration where the royal family did this theater play of kind of celebrating some kind of occasion. And they all participated. And one of the characters of this play was a little girl that played the princess. But in that generation, there was no little girl in the royal family. They only had boy. But because the boy was very young, they thought, he's so young. We can dress him as a girl and he will play the princess role and everybody will find it very funny. Everybody will laugh. It will be great for the people. So we do like this. So they dressed the little boy as a princess and he played the princess of Kashi. And then after they finished the play, all the royal family posed in their costumes and the royal painter came and he did a beautiful painting of the family. And the painting was stored in the palaces, in the palace archives. Many years later passed, and the boy was now a young man in his 20s, and he had completely forgotten about, he was like 5 years old or something, or 6 years old at that time, so he completely forgot about all that. And he was digging around the palace, and he finds this old painting. And he recognizes his father, his mother, his uncle. He recognizes, oh, look, they look so young. And then he sees this girl in the painting. But he doesn't recognize the girl. Like, who's this girl? I don't remember any girl. Who's this girl? But she looks like a princess. She must be a princess from a neighboring kingdom. But I've never met her. She looks quite cute, actually. I wonder how she looks today. And the prince starts thinking about it, to imagine how the princess would look today. Because, she was about his age. Maybe she's about my age now. She must be a princess from a neighboring kingdom. And his mind goes on and on and on and on, making all these projections, all these ideas about the princess of Kashi, how beautiful she must be. He becomes obsessed with the princess. He falls in love with the prince, with the idea of the princess of Kashi. She must be gorgeous. I wish I could meet her, but who is she? Who is she? Who is she? And one day he was walking in the garden, all preoccupied, thinking about the princess. How can he find out who she is? He can meet her. I wonder where she lives. And this old minister was walking around the courtyard, and he has been for a while noticing that he was quite preoccupied. And, Prince, what's going on with you? For days now, I see you were moping in corners and you look all what's going on with you? It's nothing. No, come on, you can talk to me. I've known you since you're a boy. Come on. I think I'm in love. Oh, that's great. Who's the lucky girl? Who's the lucky girl? Do I know her? Who is she? And the prince, that's the problem. I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? I've seen her in the painting, and I think she's a princess from some kingdom around, but I've never met her, and actually that's why I'm so preoccupied, because I want to find out who she is, and I don't. Okay, maybe I know. Show me the painting, because I know many people. Maybe I know. And he takes the minister to the painting, and he shows, it's her. And of course, the minister knew. The minister remembered. He immediately knows what happens. So he says to the prince, you better sit down. You better sit down. You better sit down. I have something to tell you. But do you know who she is? Yes. I know who she is. I know. You have to tell me, because my heart, I'm suffering so much. I'm suffering so much. I'm suffering so much. I need to be peace. Please help me. Okay, sit down. The prince sits down. Prince, that's you. That's you as a boy, dressed as a girl. At that moment, right there, realizing the emptiness of the princess of Kashi, the prince was liberated from all torment, from all suffering, from all clinging, from all grasping. Instantaneously, one moment. Nothing was left. How could there be anything left? All gone. Attached to what? All attachment, all clinging, all grasping, all suffering, just poof, in one instant of recognition of the emptiness of the object. So this is why when we recognize prajnaparamita, when we recognize the true nature, things don't disappear. The world, perceptions don't disappear. It's not like a Buddha doesn't see anything. It's not like a Buddha is in black space, you know. It's like the Buddha has no appearances. It's not like this. It's not like this. As the Buddha explained, the five eyes. But when the emptiness is seen, that seeing of the emptiness, that seeing of the no-self nature, that itself becomes the liberation. Not just for the Buddha, but for others. Because then the Buddha becomes the minister. The Buddha becomes like the minister. Because the Buddha knows the empty nature of the princess of Kashi. The Buddha is like the minister. The Buddha can say, listen, no, that's you. This is the why, the middle path. No self, no being becomes the liberation of all beings. And I've bothered you too much. Thank you very much. Have a good night, and I see you next time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.